All righty, we're waiting. We're to go live.
Honey, look, look.
Okay, and we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another special edition this Sunday evening of Off the Record, the People's Podcast, with a great couple that we have on this evening. We have Brother James Muhammad and Sister Amina Haqq. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on and have a conversation with us, dealing with love and marriage, and for better or for worse. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam.
Excellent. The first question I would like to know is, or ask is, who made the first move to initiate the interest or show interest with one another, with you two?
I didn't get the question.
Who made the first move? Like, who decided to show interest in the other one?
Oh, I did.
Okay, yes, sir.
I think I did. I saw my wife. I saw my wife going to the subway station where I was soldiering Final Call newspapers, and I think that was the first time I saw her. And she was actually going to the study group in Manhattan, and we were in Queens. And I was like, "Well, we got a study group out here," but she was going up to Manhattan. And I looked at her, I was like, "Man, okay, that might be the one."
Okay, yes, sir. So love at first sight situation, yes, sir. Excellent. And Sister Amina, what was it about your husband that you saw in him that made you want to allow him to pursue you?
What I still love about him is that he is so dedicated. You know, he was, I didn't really notice them when they was on the street because I've always admired the FOI selling papers. Back in the day when we came in, the FOI were at train stations with like the tapes of the minister with the speakers and stuff. So they were there, they were stationed there on Wednesdays. They were at the study group. At that particular time, it was around Spike Lee's movie of Malcolm X. And when I began to kind of take notice of him is when the brothers, I worked in Long Island, which is probably an hour and 15 minutes away. And my husband was a lieutenant in Queens at that time. And they said that, you know, the instructions were that the women were not to be out at night. Well, I worked at night, but my husband made sure the FOI came and got me and dropped me off at home. And I lived 2.5 hours away. So I kind of thought that was like, whoa. And so because my mind was like, I had no idea. I didn't think he liked me or nothing. It's just that I really felt protected. I love that about the FOI. They really looked out. And so I was willing to take a leap of faith to leave the life that I was familiar with to embark on what I heard the minister say. And the brothers made his word bond. That's what made me love him.
Okay. Excellent. Brother Captain, now you don't even know her that well, and you're already making sure she gets home and 2 hours away. That's pretty smooth, brother. That's pretty smooth. How long have you all been married?
Going on, this will be 26 years in October.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. And who said "I love you" first?
I don't know. It probably was her because I'm not the emotional type.
Okay.
I would say, I would have to say she probably did, but I don't know.
Okay, yes, ma'am. And Sister Amina, are you raising your hand to implicate yourself?
You know why? Because I come from a family where we're affectionate, and I really did love him. Love what the protection. I'll tell a story. What made me love him? I showed up at one of our courtship meetings, and I had on a pair of, I think they were like leggings.
With
some high with some high top sneakers and a white t-shirt. And my husband said, don't you ever show up looking at like that again. Well, you know, in my former life, I was slick at the mouth. And I said, well, you must got something better for me to put on. Brother, he took me from Jamaica Avenue in Sufton into a mall and bought me a dress, stockings, and shoes. For a man to shut me up in a righteous way, I fell in love with him that day.
Okay, raised between love, wonderful, wonderful, yes, sir. And what, for you, Brother Captain, how did your upbringing help affect your marriage and you as a man? Like, how has that affected it?
Oh man, my family are from the Caribbean. I'm probably the first generation here in America because my father was born and raised in St. Thomas, and so I was blessed. I had my grandmother that lived downstairs from us. I had my aunties live downstairs from us. So we were like a real community family, and you know, I always see my father always working hard and trying to provide. Always, everybody always said that he always treated me like and my brother with love and affection, and he showed it. Now he may not have said "I love you, son," but in his works, just working hard and trying to provide like whatever we wanted, whatever we need, he always tried to do that for us. And my mom was just like, I can't describe it. She was a beautiful woman, and always active and always trying to dress us up in the best. So I always try to do that for my family, and try to provide the best way I can, and try to always be a father figure. And I always learn from my father. I would rarely get beatings. If I get a beating, it's because I really messed up. Like I would have to say, yeah, I deserve that by high woman.
Yes, sir.
It was just like I did something like crazy, like. But he always would say, you know, he was the type of person that, you know, how some parents would say, "Do what I say, not what I do."
Yes, sir.
My father wasn't like that. He always showed the example. He always sat me down, and back then I rather with the beating because he would talk me to death.
Yeah.
Down and taught me for hours, and like I'm telling you this, and it's like so funny because my friends were used to soak it up and used to love to hear my father speak because they didn't have fathers. So he was a father to me. He was a father to the community, and I think I kind of picked up that trait because I like every time I see a youth, I'm always talking to them, and I probably sometimes talking to them. But that's just like the relationship that I have with my father. He was always talking and communicating to the point where even if I try to do wrong and I try to hang out with the drug dealers or those who might be negative, he said, "Oh, you James boy. Nah, man, get out of here."
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, you got the good life. Why are you even trying to play this life? And so I always try to take
Okay. Yes, sir. Excellent. And Sister Amina, how did your upbringing affect you in your relationship?
I will say that in the beginning, my perception of marriage was unrealistic. What I did see my mother do was to make a home for us. You know, my mother taught my sisters and I, my brothers, how to cook. Um, my stepfather taught my brothers and I how to work on cars. He had a great work ethic. My mother always taught us that it was important for us to marry someone who had a work ethic, you know. And so what influenced me was that I was looking for someone who loved Islam, not from their words. I'm not interested in what you got to say. You know, my father is a pretty famous person, my biological father, and it's not what you say, it's what you do. So I'm not impressed with what people say, which is probably why I'm not a churchgoer. I'm impressed by what people do. So I like to go out in the community. I'm that person. So
Mm.
that is what affected me in marriage, affected my impression on marriage and the kind of man that I would choose to spend the rest of my life with.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. Welcome, salam, Sister Mariah, and thank you all for watching. Yes, sir. Brother James, if you could describe the proposal when you proposed to Sister Amina.
I'm talking 26 years ago.
Yes,
I can tell you what happened.
Yeah, well, tell them what happened, baby. Make them laugh.
We were courting, and I got arrested, not for something negative, but we came to a defense of a sister, and me and a couple of brothers went in there to handle our business, got arrested, we went to jail, and my wife was there all the time for the proceedings and all that, and we were actually being charged with attempted murder. It was a serious case. So Allah blessed us to beat the case, and the charges dropped. So when I got out, as soon as I got out, my wife at that time, my courtee, jumped into my arms and hugged me. And I never said the words. Captain Dennis was my captain at the time. He said, "Well, damn." He said, "Man, you better get married soon. Soon, better y'all break the law." So at that point, we was like, "Well, yeah, let's get married." And since we was in the courthouse, we filed for the papers. I think that day,
October 4th.
October 4th, and
October 4th.
we went down to the Justice of the Peace,
On October 5th.
And that's how it happened.
Okay, that's exciting, beautiful. I wish they would have had Facebook Live back then. That would have went viral. Sister Amina, what was it about him that made you want to accept his proposal as soon as he asked you like that?
I'm grateful. Ignorance is bliss. I mean that. I saw him stand up for what he believed in, and I was familiar with their case as well. And so I was proud of him that he stood up for what he believed in. And so, but just impulse, like when they were in jail for 5 days. And so just on impulse, I just hugged him. And so when Captain Dennis said, "Oh, y'all gonna get married soon, before you break the law," we applied. They got out of jail like 12 o'clock. We went right downstairs to the Justice of the Peace. But it wasn't a thought. It wasn't nothing to think about. It was that I love his sacrifice. And I just love the fact that his word was his bond in action, and so ignorance at that time was definitely bliss. If I was focused on how much money he made, we wouldn't be married. Because his dedication to his nation. He was one of the first security personnel of NOI security. Probably around your time when you were just becoming born and everything of that nature. So he worked for NOI security, and so that was something in and of itself. And I mean, I thank Allah that I didn't know what I know now. I thank Allah that I just focused on the core of who he is. So I wouldn't say I fell in love with potential. He actually was showing who he was, and it was going to take time for him to manifest that financially. So I didn't make a mistake.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And, okay, now, Brother Captain, with you at that time period, were you worried about finances? That's to balance the nation life and work and then the family. How did you do that?
But it was a struggle. It wasn't easy. I did whatever I had to do, from pushing tapes, CDs, or let's say CDs back then, probably tapes, books, final calls, and just grind. One of the craziest things because I love my nation, I actually had a job. I was actually going to become a manager at the bookstore, but I gave that up because I wanted to be with the nation more. So, so wanting to help the nation, I made that decision. It was everyday. It was an everyday hustle and an everyday struggle. But I thank Allah that we made it through. Things happened to develop that allowed me to begin to produce a little bit more, get a little bit more understanding, and I think the brotherhood helped me a lot as well. Um, at that time, as we were growing into it, that was coming up the tour of the Million Man March, all men. And so every time I thought that I would be able to settle down as a husband, another project came up. So we had the largest manhood training in the nation in Queens. And so that diverted my attention again. So it seems like every time you think that you're about to get out of a situation, Allah puts you into another situation. And it's like, I always tell the brothers, there's a difference between being a man and being an FOI. I think being a man is a prerequisite to becoming a FOI. Because if I was just a regular man, meaning that take care of my household, play with my children, hang out with my wife, no other responsibilities, I'd probably be good, right? As to the point of what a family life was supposed to, quote unquote, look like. But with the added responsibilities of taking care of helping the nation grow, helping our father grow, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan grow this nation and do what we have to do, you have to become extraordinary.
Yes, sir.
So you have to balance, you have to become supernatural. So you have to take on those characteristics of a man and then add it twofold on the responsibilities of what is required of an FOI.
Yes, sir.
So I think that whole foundation of the struggle, I say all that to say all that foundation of the struggle that we took place maybe 20 years ago allowed me to develop into a certain characteristic of a man and an FOI that is today, that's formulated in me today. And I can see it in my children.
I bear witness.
Okay, excellent. Yes, ma'am. And Sister Amina, was there any pressure from your family to marry him or to not marry him? How did you handle your biological family with you all's relationship in the early days?
I think my mother was afraid that because I was emotionally and underdeveloped and immature, that I would make the same mistake she did. So she didn't initially support us getting married. And she didn't like the level of deception because we didn't tell her that we were legally married. And so we didn't give her an opportunity to really shape us and give her blessings. So she didn't support us. And it wasn't until several years later that she began to realize that maybe they will make it. But I know my daughter, and she knows that some of the character defects that as an older woman and more experienced woman she saw in my husband, she said that I walked right into her shoes. And what I was able to do and cultivating her and our relationship over the last 8 years before Allah blessed her, granted her some physical relief from this earth, is I was able to show her with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that I don't care what he went through. He's not your husband. I'm not you. And we're going to be all right. But you know what that made me have to do? I had to get better in Islam.
Yes, ma'am.
Because she knew her daughter. My mother raised us Muslim. And when she left the practice of Islam, the building, she still had Islamic principles, even when she went to the church. And each church, my mother was the kind of person that she was always authentic and real. So nobody really accepted her ever. Because she loved Islam, but she didn't love the people in terms of when it become what it's not supposed to be. But she was just afraid. Her fear was valid. Let me just be clear on that. Her fear was valid. Yes, but in order for it not to come into fruition, I had to be better too. And so my husband, I had to become a surrendered wife. I had to be that type of wife that wasn't defensive. So for I would say for the last 7 to 8 years, we've developed a friendship, my husband and I.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. Yes, sir. Brother Captain, what was your family feeling towards your wife, and how did you handle that?
Do tell.
Well, my father didn't like it, like my wife at first. She felt that my wife was too strong-willed, and that he would like for me to have a more soft-spoken woman in my life. But he grew to love her, and understand why I made the decision that I made. I guess he really wanted someone more like my mother, and he thought that's the route I was going to go. But I knew I needed someone a little bit stronger in my life to help me in a mission, and somebody who was really Farrakhan orientated, in the nation, nation do or die. Because sometimes you get people, everybody that's in the nation, they have different kind of qualities, and I'm not knocking any other sisters with home life and things like that, but I need someone I look over my shoulder, they right there holding down another post, while I'm holding down my post.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My wife was like that, and we've been doing it for 26 years. I actually told my wife she needed to retire last year.
Okay.
It started to take a toll on her body, and I told her it's time. Okay, hang it up. Focus on the children at this time. But that's what I talked about my wife, and my father understood that's why I love my wife, because she was do or die with me, regardless to whom or what.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. I want to say that this podcast is being brought to you by Torchlight Academy in Orange, New Jersey, with Sister Alnisa. I want to make sure that I want to thank her for her sponsorship. I want to thank my sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me. Please get her book on Amazon. My brother, Politically Oppressed, and his business partner Jamal with video production. Thank you for your street premiere. And my second book, Cleopatra, is on Amazon. The children's book. Please get this. Also, if anyone who's watching would like to sponsor, or you want to use your business to sponsor, inbox me, DM me, or cash at me at jimagination. Let me know. Thank you all for that brief commercial break. The next question is, Sister Amina, how do you apologize to your husband?
I apologize.
Okay, just make sure that.
Listen, get right to it. Don't skip around it. You hurt somebody's feelings, apologize, acknowledge it, get right to it. The worst, something that kills a relationship, male and female, is when you just can't acknowledge that you did wrong. You know you did wrong. Even if you're in denial, you know something wasn't right about what you did. So just apologize. And I've learned over the years that it was easier for me to apologize and more difficult to change. So what I've learned to do in the last few years is, rather than just say I'm sorry, marry that with change. So if it was something my husband didn't like, then it was important for me. One of the decisions that I make in moving toward focusing on my children as opposed to security is that I know that around this time I get highly stressed, very short patient with everyone. It's important for me to be able to be his wife and be his comfort and his help meet his responsibilities. Well, I can't do that if I'm just as stressed out as he is. Then who's going to be there for the children? So you know what? In my efforts to assist my nation, the best thing I can do with my nation is to continue working with my husband to raise gods that will continue this legacy and help the nation. So that's what I would say.
Excellent. And Brother Captain, I'm coming to you 1 second. Sister Shaniqua Muhammad, I hope I'm not butchering that, says, thank you, family. This is helping me tremendously. And she's referring to you all, to you too. Brother Daniel, walaikum salam, sir. Always showing love. Yes, Brother Captain, how do you apologize, sir?
I guess straightforward. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes with me, I'm very strong-willed, and when we go back and forth, you have to show me that where I'm wrong at, and so it take a little bit of more time, and you have to stay because sometimes it's the way my wife may say something to me that may trigger me off because I'm a person that's probably I hold a lot in, so I won't say it. But then when I explode, it explodes tremendously, and then all the venom comes out, right?
Yes,
so, and after that, I was like, I get to the point where I like, well, you made me do this. You went there with me. Why you went there with me? You know. But then I started. As you get older, you mature. So it's like at certain times, man, it's like it don't even matter. It, like she'll say, I'm like, yeah, okay, yes, ma'am. I apologize. I did that. All right, yeah. All right. Can we keep it moving? You know, I just learned like, you know, sometimes I even forget like what we was talking about, and you know, it's got to that point now where it's just quick to go over it. But I tell you one thing. I guess the way we raise our children will break up a fight with us.
Tell them the last one.
And you know, they said, "Will Farrakhan talk to his wife like that? Would talk to?" That's my son, and I say that to say is that's why it says it's good to train your children and show them the way, because if another parent might say, "Shut up, boy," you know, or you know, "Be quiet, just mind your business. This is grown folks talking." But God, truth is the center of all things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when my son, 6 years old, may say something or interject and bring some kind of wisdom in it, that's God talking through my son.
Yes,
that's
sir.
God talking through them. So I can't fight back and say and get mad and like go in your room. That's why I started at the beginning by saying that I love my father because he taught the fact that watch me do, and if I do something wrong, correct me. He always tried to do right in his act. Now, he wasn't in the nation, he wasn't on that, but his spiritual basis was profound that, you know, if he found himself off the path, he would say, I'm off the path, you know, right. And same kind of concept, you know, sometimes it would take a child to point out that you was wrong. I was, son, yeah, you did it like this, so-and-so, and so-and-so, that's, you know, mommy, you right, son. And I go and apologize. You know, it just takes a third party, but you know, that's why family is so important. And you know, I just put it on this last point is that when we apologize, our apology actually have to be sincere. Sometimes we say we apologize and we're not really sincere in it. We just want to keep it moving to the next thing. We don't want to argue no more. Sometimes when we are more sincere with our apology, it goes a long way.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Excellent. And thank you all. Welcome salam to Miriam. Thank you for joining us. Welcome salam, brother Victor. He says this is a beloved couple, brother Victor P. Muhammad. Yes, sir. Sister Amina, thank you very much. I have a question. We'll start with you, Sister Amina. What has been your greatest trial in your marriage, and how did you overcome that?
A shareable trial would be when in 1995, April and October or November of 95, I lost both of my fallopian tubes. And having no fallopian tubes is like not having an engine. So unfortunately, being with someone like my husband, who has the ability to have as much children as he wants, being in the Nation of Islam, being a Muslim woman, watching women have children by the dozens.
Yes, ma'am.
It was really, really difficult because I had to face the reality that I wasn't born with a defect. My past had destroyed my reproductive organs. And it was important for me. I come from the type of family that we are transparent. So I had to tell the truth. So my husband can make a decision what it was that he wanted to do, but I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to act like it didn't happen. I'm not sure how it happened. I know how it happened. Let me just tell you how it is. And so he decided to stay. And just his decision to stay wasn't enough, because naturally, him being human, he questioned himself, and he actually took on my trial like it was his and thought that Allah was punishing him. Well, I was offended, because I'm saying that if you think Allah punishing you, I hope you don't think he punishing me, because that's not how that works. You know, in life, I said this before to you all, you guys, especially you all that are young in your age. I was transparent about myself on purpose to tell y'all that if you lay down with somebody who had an STD, you're going to get an STD. Well, when I was a teenager, I didn't know no better. And unfortunately, obviously, it happened. And then I didn't recognize that this had happened until I was 24, when I settled down and act like I want to get my life together. So how we did it was together. And it's something that I can reflect back on it, because my husband actually owned my trial. It was like that was his trial too. And so as a result of him doing that, you know, we were infertile, that the children weren't produced from my womb, my physical womb. But when the opportunity arose for me to provide my husband with children, I didn't know this at the time either, but we did give birth to 2 children when these women decided that, listen, we would rather you keep our children than ourselves. It was a choice. These children weren't taken away from anyone. And so for that, it was like my husband owned that decision. And, you know, according to him, he said he believes that Allah blessed him with 2 children, and one that looked just like him.
Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. And I want to thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your transparency. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you. I see your comments and your questions, and I'm coming to them. My sister Miriam says, thank you for sharing. Brother Captain,
Thank you.
What has been your greatest trial, and how did you overcome it as a husband in this relationship over the last 26 years?
I would have to say not having children, I guess, would be the same kind of trial. She's right in the sense that I took it as my own trial as well. Of course, knowing that I could have children, and knowing in my past relationships before I even joined the nation that I had the opportunity to have several children, and then go through the whole process, made me feel like, okay, this is my this is the comeback. Okay, now I'm not able to get the children that I want, but Allah has shown me through the trials, because we have done foster care, we have taken on other people's children, even before we had our own children, and I never inject the word adopt, because I just feel that Allah blessed us with our children.
Yes, sir.
Like the immaculate conception. So I don't put that out there, and I don't not that I'm ashamed. It's just the fact that I really believe that they're mine, and I treat them like mine. Like I don't say, well, maybe if, wish, would, could be. No, it's already there. That's what I have. Allah blessed me. I asked for the blessing, and Allah blessed it to me.
Yes,
I have exactly what I asked for. I got a boy and a girl. They're 1 year apart from one each other. They're in the same birth month. And I say, all praises due to Allah. So during that trial came a blessing out of it. So that would be, I would say, my greatest trial, because I remember one time I didn't feel like I was complete as a family, because it was just me and my wife, and the fact that we would never be able to expand ourselves into the future. That was one of the main things that really bothered me. But now, I mean, Allah blessed us with 2 beautiful children, and I just feel that that trial is not really a trial anymore, and I overcome it, and I thank Allah for it.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, and thank you. I'm coming to your question right now. Says Naima, this is John. I'm coming to yours. Brother Captain, some people keep texting me saying is there a way you can hit the light so they can see you just a little bit more, sir? Yes, ma'am.
I'm in the car.
It's all good. It's all good. Sister Amina.
Chocolate.
Sister Amina says, they said, how has, my sister Naima says, how has becoming parents changed you both? We'll start with you, Sister Amina.
I'm going to tell you something. If you know any big thing about degrees, it has changed me 180 degrees. And it has really helped me to put love into what my feelings always was. Like when I was working with the young people 20 years ago, I loved you all, but I didn't know how to love you. How to love you is you got to be patient, you got to be kind. Like Corinthians says, love is patient, love is kind, love is compassionate. I didn't have that. I didn't have those skills set working with young people. So when Allah blessed us to be parents to Ali and Najma, I surrendered to the skill set of men and women in our circle who helped guide me to putting love first. So when I discipline my children today, I'm mindful of, I'm striving, how I say it, when to say it, how often to say it. And it's people say, oh, that's so wonderful what you all did to them. As Allah is my witness, had Allah not allowed those babies to come here, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't. So it's an equal blessing. I'm a blessing to them and they are a blessing to me that we found each other, that Allah blessed them to be able to find a forever home. And I want to thank Allah. I'm always going to do this. And I thank Allah for the wombs that my children came from, because it was no mistake. Allah don't make mistakes. He don't say to her, oh, you didn't do this right, I'm going to do, no. So I want to say to my son and my daughter's mothers, they two different mothers. And those are my sisters that I thank Allah that had not Allah blessed their minds to surrender their children to another sister. They could have did a whole lot more with their children, but they didn't. And so all praise is due to Allah. This life, being a mother, has made me a more kind, compassionate, and patient person.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Captain, my sister Naima's question to you is the same. How has becoming a parent changed you, sir?
It made me more stable, grounded, focused on what I need to do to provide for my family. I learned from them as well as they learned from me. I learned from Mr. Louis Farrakhan. He would sit in a room, and if a child is talking to him, he'll make everybody be quiet and listen to the child.
The sound, Brother Captain, it's like it's the keys. The key. Okay, there you go.
Oh. Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good.
Y'all gonna get the darkness.
That's all good. It's all good.
All right. So, basically, my children are my foundation. They allow me to grow and develop and be balanced. If anybody known me in my early days, man, I was hardcore going as an FOI, as a lieutenant, as just whatever case may be. I had a tolerance. My tolerance was zero, but my children have brought a more compassionate side to me. Sometimes it does transcend into my captaincy, and some people are like, man, brother, you got a little bit softer and stuff. And I think it's a maturity growth level. I don't think it's about being soft. It's more about understanding.
Yes,
and and sometimes you have to show others how to be a father. And what do I mean by that is that when I first had my son, people don't know the whole story behind it. I used to hold my son as a student captain, and I used to get comments like, "Man, that's not being a man. And you holding your son, you're supposed to be doing so much X, Y, and Z. You're supposed to be, that's not a good example for the brothers." I'm like, how is that not a good example? Covering down and holding that what Allah has blessed you with, and showing security in my son.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what they didn't realize what I was doing is building confidence in my son. Now my son is fearless. I mean, my son will go and run and do things that normal people would never think that he would do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And some of the things that he say only can come from Allah.
That's right. I'll bear witness.
And You know, and I'm not saying that just to, sometimes parents like to toot their children up, big their children up. That's not what I'm saying that for. I'm saying that for the actual fact that what I've seen in our nation is that because many of us as fathers say, we got this mission and don't realize that our children are the mission.
Yes, sir.
When it's time to pass on the mantle, we're looking behind them. Our children are looking at us like, oh, now you want to deal with us? Yeah, I need you to join the nation. I need you to get your ex, bro. And I see this, like I've seen this. Like I've had parents come to me and say, yo, bro, Capt, can you get my son to join? I said, man, you ain't had him out all this time. Now you want him all of a sudden to jump into the mix to become an FOI? I said, bro, it's not going to work that. It don't work that way. I said, man, y'all was tripping on me when I had my son everywhere I go. Underneath me or everywhere I go. Now he can check better than some of the FOI can check.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want to hold the outside? What am I doing? I'm instilling the love of our nation into my son at an early age, so when he grow up, he don't get disconnected from him. Don't the scriptures say, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he gets older, he will not depart from it?
Yes, sir.
So why would we wait until our children get to be 16 or 17 or 18 years of age and then come with this stuff about now you got to become an FOI. Now you're trying to force something on them that you wasn't there with them in the beginning part of their stages. I don't think that's right. It's just me personally speaking.
Yes, sir.
But actions speak louder than the world on words. And I believe my children are an experiment and an experiment that has been working. If you see them and you act and interact with them, you will see that they see everybody that they see that is black as their brothers or sisters or their uncles or nieces or their grandpa or grandpa. They have a family.
That's right.
I had told one brother, I went next door real quick. I had my daughter with the FOI. And the brother was like, I wouldn't leave my daughter with the brothers. I said, if I don't leave my daughter with the FOI who's supposed to be protectors and maintainers of the black women, who the hell would I leave them with?
Mm-hmm.
What you have to realize is that I'm trying to develop them to love and learn to love that the black man is supposed to protect and respect the black woman. And that wherever she is amongst the FOI, that she should be secure. I teach my son that when anytime they see a black man or a FOI in the mosque, that's their uncle, that's their grandfather, that's their brother, that's what they love, and that's all they know. So I mean, it's been a transition for me to understand better what this whole mission is about and the connection. The Farrakhan said, God first, family second, then the mosque. You can't have a mosque without a family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Excellent. Brother T. Farrell says, y'all are so beautiful. Wow. Praise be to Allah. He's saying that to you all. Sister Miriam says, thank you for sharing. Rashad says, good teaching. Sister Mimi says, thank you. That's beautiful. Sister Sean says, what is the best gift given to you by your husband, Sister Amina?
How to be a woman. How to be a woman. And I say that because he has provided me the kind of security that consistently, and no one's perfect, but the kind of security that would allow me to surrender my defenses and surrender my will. And so that's the gift that I would say that he has given me, that I was sharing this with you yesterday, Brother Joshua, that if for whatever reason my husband and I didn't make it, he would always be my friend, because I changed to become a better woman as a result of being married to him for 26 years by Allah's permission. And so that's the gift that I believe that he's given, the gift of action, the gift of example. I love it. Praise be to Allah.
Excellent, excellent. And thank you for that question, Sister Shana. Thank you all for watching. What do you do for fun individually, Brother Captain? And then what do you do for fun with your wife and family?
What do I do for fun individually? Well, my hobby, nobody knows, I'm a comic book collector.
Hey,
so
okay.
I like reading.
Yeah.
I'm a comic book. Marvel is my favorite brand.
Okay.
And every now and then when I get an opportunity, I do like to play PlayStation 4.
Yes.
I do that with me and my son play that NBA.
Okay. Yes.
He got that Nintendo Switch, so I can't get that away from him. But as family, we like to go to the park. I know I like taking my children to the park a lot. We actually like to read. I like to read to my children a lot, and I think they like me reading to them. I don't think it's anything particular that we do as a family. It's just like I think it's the moments that we have together.
Right.
Is what really counts for us, because like I said, it's a difference being a man and then being an FOI. So, it's everything is in layers. Like I was telling my wife today, she's telling me I had to be on the show. I was like, but babe, I got to work, man. I'm like, so I'm out in a truck, but it's like give and take. Now I was like, I'm on this conference call and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get out here. But it's balanced, because then I get home and, my wife tried to get the children to let me sleep. But, when your children call, I'm the type of father, I guess, a lot of us with the skill that I just get up and like, what y'all want to do. Even though I might be dead tired, but just to see their faces, I just keep on remembering that God Allah bless, because, and sometimes I may tell them, I say, you might have, and I don't say it like to scare them, but they always bring it back to me. I was like, I may not be here all the time. So, I want to enjoy the time that I'm with you. And they're like, where you going? I was like,
You know what? Go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
No, I was like to say everything is real, but I just like treasure every moment, because like I said, it's hard. Don't get me wrong, I love being FOI. I love it. And stuff. I just said we have to be more balanced in this, because a lot of times we're not balanced.
Yes, sir.
And I try to be balanced with my family.
I want to, before I answer my question, I wanted to bear witness something that my husband just said. My children, I taped them. I had to tape it because it was just so profound. My son said, Mommy, is Daddy getting old? I said, what makes you say that? He said, well, if he gets old and dies like Muhammad Ali, are you going to marry another husband that loves his kids, who works, who's a great captain? I said, what? Like, then I couldn't believe that he was saying it. So I said, nobody else will believe me. And I pulled out my phone and I said, I'm gonna want to record you, because I want to be able to hear Daddy, to hear what you're saying. What are you saying? He said, just what I said. Again, he's 6. He said, if Daddy gets old and he dies like Muhammad Ali, are you going to get a husband who loves Minister Farrakhan, loves being a captain, loves his kids, and is responsible? I said, absolutely. And I taped him, because what he was saying was what he felt about his father. He loves his children, he's responsible, he loves Islam, and he loves the minister.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that was such a great, to me, that was so much to say what my husband has deposited in our children, that my 6-year-old would say that if something happened to him, would you marry a man like that? And I'm gonna tell you that today was the first day that I said I probably will never get married again as long as my husband was under 18, my children were under 18. Today was the first day. Because before, I guess I wasn't thinking. I took for granted who my husband was until my son said all of these things. I think that this is rare in having a strong example of a man to take care of children that he didn't necessarily birth from his loins, that he takes care of our children better than my father was able to take care of me and so many other people that I've heard. But I want to say that I love him and I love you, James, and I thank Allah for you. And I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for what his example has been in our lives. Because I wouldn't know who my husband was if it wasn't for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I couldn't see who he is if I didn't study the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so it was important to me, as I said to you before, that it's so important to be a good Muslim, like just not going to the mosque. Going to the mosque don't make you a Muslim. No different than a student that go to school make them a good student. You can show up and don't study and you're not gonna pass.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that I thank Almighty God a lot that my husband has proven in the last 26 years to be a student. And I love the fact that he represents the FOI, because had it not been for the example that he had, so I would say that we give flowers while we live. Thank you, James, for all that you do. And I thank Allah for you. That this is an example to answer your question. What do we do as a couple? You see the sacrifice that he's making? This is money. He could be working, but his wife wanted to join so that we can share with you, because I look forward to coming to your wedding. So I wanted us to be, yeah. So I wanted my husband to join me. This was like our date. So, and that's another thing I wanted to say about marriage. You just can't go conventional Western. You know, Western society says you guys go on vacation and dates in the movies. This is take the time that you have with one another. So this is a date for us. This is what we do. We sacrifice with one another, enjoy each other's company.
Praise be to Allah. T. Farrell says, y'all gonna make me cry in the car. All praise be to Allah. Mimi says, oh. Sister McQueek says, beautiful. All praise be to Allah. Jamila Ali says, wow, beautiful. I'm still stuck on the part about the type of security your husband provides you. That's so beautiful. Mimi says, balance is key. Naeem says, all praise be to Allah. Family time is the best time. Okay, excellent. Speaking, okay, do for fine, boom, boom. All right, and Brother Captain, thank you for your sacrifice of your money. I don't want to hold you up any longer. I just got a few more questions, and thank you, Sister Amina, for asking him to do so. Speaking of the new generation, or trying to encourage people in the generation of a time period right now, is the hot girl summer. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's just on social media, just out here, just doing what they do. Divorce rate, people not really trying to get. How do you? We'll start with you, Brother Captain, and come to you, Sister Amina. How do you encourage the younger generation to get married? Go ahead, sir.
To get married.
Yes, sir.
Well, married, but if we're talking about in the nation, I'm gonna go both ways.
Yes, sir.
Marriage is after your faith, right? So if you're not married, then you're really not even struggling to become one with Allah. Because see, I can't say I'm married past tense. I'm striving to become married. I'm in a process. The process is ongoing. But I tell young people all the time that when you find someone that is compatible and that y'all have the same goals in mind. Because it's more like you're building a team. You're building a corporation within yourselves. Don't look at it as like, sometimes as young people, you may want to say, I'm going to do the right thing and get married so you don't fornicate. I'm going to tell you something that's honestly the truth. And you might say, well, Dan, I ain't going to get me married. But after a while, the sex part ain't even going to matter that much, because you got so much other things that's in place that you got to take care of if you're a true husband and wife. That, yeah, it's going to be there, but you got so many other things to get to know each other, one another, get to understand one another, build a bond with one another. And the other thing is that once you get married, don't try to have children right away. Enjoy their life first for about a year or two and then have children, because the children are going to consume your time. And then what's going to happen is that one or the other mate is going to feel insecure because they're not going to have that same kind of connection that they would have had prior to having children. So marriage is a beautiful thing. But I'm going to tell you straight up, marriage is not no fantasy, fairy tale, soap opera. So if you're asking me to kind of sell the picture of happiness every day, that's not what marriage is about. Marriage is about hard work. Marriage is about commitment. Marriage is about a bond. And if you are FOI and the MGT and the Nation of Islam, y'all got to be supernatural, because each one has to understand about the other one. And I'm gonna say this on the side note. For many years, you know, I was known as Sister Amina's husband. I ain't had no name. That's Sister Amina's husband right there. Brothers and sisters alike. No matter what I was lieutenant captain. I could do millions of things, but my wife got all the props. Now, for some men, that'd be like, yo, man, I can't deal with this, man. She, you know, out front more than I am. But when you have a love and a bond for the mission, it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Let's write the competition. I'm good for that. I'm good for that. Go ahead. Let her do her thing. But now, years get later, it starts balancing out. That's Brother Capt. That's Brother James, man. He did this and that and that. And sometimes sometimes people may throw shots. Oh man, how you deal with Sister Amina? What do you mean how I deal with her? I deal with her how I deal with her. That's my wife, right? Right? Just because you can't deal with her, you ain't on the same level as I am. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I love my wife.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? Straight up, I love my wife. So you can't deal with her. That's on you. But ain't like you know, behind closed doors, we like, yo, you gotta chill on that. Because a lot of people are like, yo, you gotta calm your wife down. Nah, I'm not doing that. You gotta, do this and do that. See, when you find that real one, he or she is focused on you. They ain't caring about what nobody else think. Because they know that the relationship is between y'all two and the connection is between y'all two and God.
That's
you
beautiful.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And the main thing is that, man, nowadays, bruh, for real, the young people have to realize, man, that commitment is so key. And I know that a lot of us look at other of our parents and may see some things that have went wrong in the relationship. And it might have been some deviation, whatever the case may be. But I'm telling you, you have to look at the person. Say, for instance, that you was hanging tough with a sister for a long time, but you just kind of like, man, I don't know if I want to commit, man. But if you was hanging tough for so long, man, y'all had things that were clicking, man, you need to take it to the next step. Don't be scared. You know how they say, don't be scared.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? You have to accept the challenge and struggle for balance and say, man, we're going to make it work regardless of whom or what. And you have to find that key thing. See, the thing that keeps our marriage together, I told my wife, when we got married, I said the only thing that will break our relationship is that you leave the messenger of Allah. I said that's the only thing. I said everything else I can work past. I can work past our arguments, our fight. And we had some fights. We had some arguments. And she was like, yo, you can go. I said, no, I ain't say I was going there. I just mad. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I'm just mad. And we can be mad, but I ain't going nowhere because where am I going to? Because what I have to think in my mind, who's going to put up with the stuff that I'm with? You know, people don't know me behind closed doors. People don't know my wife behind closed doors. Who's going to put up with me and my ambition to build my nation and going out on a whim and like, yo, babe, I'm out. Not too many would do that. You understand? Not too many people would be there to listen to me and kind of coach me in or whatever, or straighten me out when I need to. So that's why I stay. So whoever the young people today, y'all have to be committed, man. You know, life, things is given to you so fast that if you don't see a response or you don't see things happen fast for you, you tend to give up. Don't give up. Keep on pushing.
All right.
It's not to the The battle is not, it's for the long haul, put it that way. It's not to the short and swift.
Excellent. And thank you, Brother Capt. Sister Sean says, I want to be at that wedding also. Yes, ma'am, Sister Sean. Inshallah, in the future, one day I get married and you will absolutely be invited, you and your family. Mimi says, yes, Sister Amina, please stay with him about that. So Organic Poll, alaikum salam, ma'am. Good to see you watching. Sister Amina, what advice would you give to the future generations on why they should get married and why marriage is important?
Marriage is important for the further development of yourself. Your relationship with another person is only like a second floor or a third floor to your relationship with yourself and Allah. You cannot think that you can get married to a person of your dreams, whether it be a male or female, you know, husbands and wives, and your whole life is going to be wonderful. No, you really have to develop the sense of self, which would make you persevere. Also, in choosing the kind of circle that will assist you in persevering as well. So I would encourage, like, you know, you and I talk, and, you know, myself and some other young sisters talk. I would encourage you to continue to develop yourself and become so confident in your abilities by Allah's permission and guidance and help that when you meet the woman that is to be your helpmeet, you will be able to stay because you live past trying to run out on your own defects. So you give yourself a break, you'll give your mate a break. And it is definitely not a physical thing. It's wonderful to marry someone who is very, very attractive. At the same time, I tell you, what happens if the love of your life had a horrible accident and got burned? Then what? If everything was based on a physical attraction, well, what happened if you had a wife or a husband who is physically able to provide your physical need and they're no longer able to do that? Well, what happened to the love? But when you love yourself and you are committed to your word is bond to yourself, to Allah. When you marry another individual and you commit to another individual, you will take whatever the universe is going to give you to make it work. You know, I respect Camille and Ezekiel, Joy and Michael, Mimi and her husband, Sajida and Ashir. These are just Sister Jacqueline Chin's daughter, Medina. You know, when I think about some of these married people, these young people that no matter what, they stick and stay, that makes marriage look good. Now, it doesn't mean, like I was sharing with you yesterday, when you're on a construction site and you're building a building, it looks rough. So from the outside, people are wondering, yo, they sweating. Oh my God, people getting their knuckles, you know, scraped up. But when it's finished, it's a beautiful edifice. And so is marriage. On the outside, while people are building a relationship, it looks like, oh, hell no, I don't want no parts of that. Yeah. Listen, you're not ready for this. Because I'm a bear witness to you that what Allah has blessed my husband and I, and we're nowhere near finished. We only in the beginning, middle. It was difficult to begin building this construction, this edifice, and now we can look and see. I can say, I see. It's worth it. When my son said what he said to my husband and I in the midst of a disagreement we were having, I promise you, I said, you know what? That level of wisdom, you couldn't quit on that. So that's another reason why I bear witness to everything my husband said. Wait to have children and enjoy one another. And when you have children, instill the faith of God in them. So that's what I would say.
Excellent. I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule. I thank you all for your comments, everyone who watched today. Brother Capt, I learned a lot from you. Sister Amina, I always learn a lot from you every time I see you. Usually Brother Capt is always working as he is right now. I just want to let you know on behalf of myself and my family that we send a greeting and we thank you all for your sacrifice. And I look forward to meeting your children. I look forward to meeting.
Thank you so much.
I love y'all. Assalamu alaikum.
Big